Hey everybody, happy Friday. It's a gray, kind of rainy and wet day here in Brooklyn, but I don't mind because it's a nice break from the heat. I've got my coffee here, getting ready to head out the door to the gym, which feels like that's sort of always the opening to my videos lately, is I've got my coffee, I give you the weather report, and I'm getting ready for the gym. Anyway, I wanted to share with you this idea that, and this came through the first soul expansion call for July, the Rise of the Light. We had that last weekend and it was amazing and wonderful as always. I will put the link for the soul expansion calls in the description below so that you can sign up. And this is one of the teachings or one of the ideas that came through the soul expansion call that I wanted to share with you, because I think that it's a really, really useful perspective and a very useful reminder. It's a good way to sort of check ourselves in any given moment. You know, what I'm seeing right now, and you know, this is nothing new, but you know, we go through these waves of energy. We go through these waves of you know, light and energy and information and shifts that come through. So the energy comes in. It creates a new space. It creates all these shifts within us physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and then we move into the new space. And then we find a little bit of a plateau. And then it happens again and the cycle continues to repeat. And the energy comes in, it creates a new space, we go through the changes, we reach the same, you know, frequency of the new space, we move into it, we sort of ground and anchor into it, we find a little bit of a plateau, and then we move on. Well, this cycle is repeating faster and faster and faster. I was just having lunch with a friend a couple of days ago, and I was saying, you know, I feel like this cycle used to be like a 6-month cycle, and then it was like a 3-month cycle, and then maybe it was like a month, and now it's like, it seems like every 3 days lately we're going through this wave of intensity that's really calling us to a higher and higher place. And I know that this full moon, the full moon that's coming in tomorrow, or maybe it's Sunday, I believe, the 9th, this full moon energy is so intense, man. It is potent, and I know a lot of us are feeling like emotional and kind of all over the place and like, you know, ass over, you know, ass backwards, kind of feet, what's the saying, ass over head or ankles over ass? I don't know. I don't know what the phrase is, but I know we're feeling sort of topsy-turvy. And you know, I've been talking about this for a while, that things are not going to let up anytime soon. I think it's about really allowing yourself to get comfortable with this flow, get comfortable with this intensity, and get comfortable with this process. And you know what? You've got it. You can do this. You can handle it. This is what you came here for. And so whenever we go through these cycles, you know, I get a lot of people, because I'm seeing another huge wave of people waking up. I'm seeing another wave of people being activated, like the light switch is being turned on for them, and all of a sudden they're starting to question things, they're starting to wonder, like their lives are starting to shift and perhaps collapse around them. They're starting to see chaos, and they're starting to look beneath the surface, and they're starting to ask these questions. And whenever something like this occurs, when we're going through one of these phases, I get a lot of people coming to me, writing me emails, sending me messages, and saying, what's going on? What, help me? I don't understand. Things are crazy. Things are falling apart. And, you know, I do appreciate the fact that people reach out to me. However, just so that you guys know, I generally don't answer questions through email or through chat, because that's just not ever enough. You know, your response, the response that I want to give you, requires more than an email. And the information that I know will help you requires more than an exchange via email. And I know from experience that one answer is never enough. That anytime I answer someone via email or a private message on Facebook or on Instagram, and I respond, then there becomes this big, and I understand it, like you know, things are crazy, you need answers, you're looking for the truth, and when you reach out to someone and you're asking for an answer and it's given, then there's more questions and more questions and more questions. So the number of messages that I get from people, I just can't answer them all. And so the reason that I record videos like this is to give you insight and to give you information and to give you tools. And trust me, the kind of information that I do on these videos is no different than what you would get from me in like a one-on-one session. And the soul expansion calls are a great way to connect with me directly in a much more intimate setting. So if you do want to connect with me, the soul expansion calls are a great way to do it. But I want to talk about this idea, you know, people coming to me asking questions, wanting to know what is the answer, right? Why is this happening? There's this thing in my life, there's chaos in my life, things are shifting, things are changing, I'm not happy, this is ending, whatever it is, there's a big shift, there's this big upheaval, and people always want to know why. Why is this happening? What is the reason, and what is the answer? And the subtext really to those questions usually is, how can I fix or cure this so that it will never happen again? Or how can I get this, if you're in a good thing, then there's this question of like, well, how can I get this to always happen, right? I have this good moment and I want to repeat it over and over and over. This is the truth. There is no silver bullet. There is no cure. There is no finish line. There is no ending. This is not about fixing anything. This is not about you even being broken. This is about the experience of continuing to grow and evolve through whatever experience you are in and allowing yourself to be present within that. And that's the big answer. And actually there is an answer and there is a cure if you want to talk about it. And the answer always is go within. Always, 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 no matter what, it always boils down to go within, because that's where your connection to the truth lies. And only you know what your truth feels like. However, there is an understanding that can help shift your perspective, or at least give you a way to look at things so that you can shift how you're looking at them, because the only way to ever shift your reality is to shift your perspective. And a shift in perspective creates a shift in belief, and a shift in belief always changes your external reality, because again, the external world is the secondary reality. The internal world is the primary reality. What's going on out here is old news. And what's going on out here is only ever a reflection of what you believe or what you're holding up true, or it's an opportunity to really check yourself and go, whoa, wait a minute, man, I'm in some deep shit, or I'm in something that I don't really like and I don't feel comfortable here. So what can I do internally to shift my point of view so that I can shift what's going on out here? So it's this idea of a fixed state of consciousness versus a flow state of consciousness. The fixed state is the egoic perspective. The fixed state is, I have a hammer and I'm looking for a nail. The fixed state requires absolutes. The fixed state is always externally focused because it places blame. You're the reason that I'm upset. You're the reason that I'm afraid. You're the reason that I'm happy. You're the thing that's taking this from me. You're the thing that's my source of whatever, right? The fixed state is always reacting to what is going on, and it's looking for control. It's looking to hold somebody accountable. It's looking to make somebody pay. And the fixed state, let me guarantee you, is always going to end in suffering, because the fixed state always denies the present moment. The fixed state is always looking to answer the question, how can I prevent this from happening again? Or how can I make sure that things always happen this way? And the fixed state believes in the illusion of control. The fixed state says, if I always do this or if I never do that, then I will always get this response or I will never get that response. The fixed state always, 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 without question, seeks to separate itself from the present moment, because the fixed state is rigid and it is cut off. The fixed state is all about this. The fixed state believes that your experience stops at the end of your nose, and that if I always do this or if I never do that, then this will happen, or I'm the one to blame or you're the one to blame, or I'm the bad person or you're the bad person, or I'm the hero and you're the villain, or I'm the victim and you're the aggressor. The fixed state is all about limitation. The fixed state always says, in order to believe, I must see the proof or the evidence first. Good luck with that. If you believe that living from the fixed state is the key and the path to happiness, let me know how that works out for you. And none of these, by the way, are right or wrong. This is just a way to gauge where am I in my experience. And I guarantee you, if you're asking the question, it's generally because you're in the fixed state of consciousness. The flow state, I mean, even when you say the word flow, it just opens up. It's a feeling. It's a limitlessness. It is always here. The flow state is always now, and it is now, and it is now, and it is now. It is the river that is rushing through the landscape of the experience, eternal and infinite and endless. And by the way, think about, if we're using this water analogy, what happens when water is flowing, right? It's moving, it's changing, it's evolving, it's growing, it's restructuring the landscape. It's cutting through rock. It is fresh, it is alive, it is vibrant, it is charged. The fixed state is stagnant. It's a fucking cul-de-sac. It's mucky and murky and stinky and nasty, and it is only limitation. The flow state knows the truth and rests in it. The flow state knows, hey, you know what? This is a moment, and things won't always be this way. And the only reason I'm here is because, number one, I chose it on some level, whether super conscious, conscious, or unconscious, it ultimately doesn't matter. Or I chose it to either recreate something, or I chose something that feels really limiting and very restricting so that I could remember the truth. The truth is that I'm infinite and eternal, and nothing outside of me has any power over me any more than I give it. Real power, true power, can never be taken because you're born with it. It can only be given away. It can only be surrendered. The flow state is always moving through life, receiving whatever is present without resistance. It is water. The river doesn't stop and have a nervous breakdown when it reaches a boulder. It just goes through it, over it, around it, under it. It finds a way and it doesn't stop. It is the flow state. The flow state nurtures inspiration and creates inspired action. This is a huge point of difference. The fixed state says, if I always do this, then I will control my environment and everybody in it. And the flow state says, no, if I rest in this, if I move from this truth, from the place of eternal infinite power, then it doesn't matter what's in front of me. Because I am the energy that creates worlds, and I am not separate. I can't be abstracted from my experience because I am the flow. And the flow either is or it is not. And when it is the flow, then it is all the flow. It is all connected. So the flow says, yeah, sure, there's a time for action. Yes, there's a time for choice. Yes, there's a time for decision. But only when I'm inspired to. If I choose from fear, then I am moving through the landscape of fear. If I choose from power and joy and ease and flow, then I am moving through the landscape of power, ease, joy, and flow. The flow state is about limitless possibility. The flow state knows that in a single moment, everything can change, and that nothing is static, and that it all evolves and grows, and that it is a fractal. That's fractals in geometry are the building blocks of the universe and our experience. It is always recurring, repeating, and expanding, morphing, evolving, and changing. It is not static. The flow state knows that everything is temporary. The flow state knows that when something is true, it is always true. Which, you know, if we continue along that line of logic, then nothing really in the human experience is true. It's all an illusion that we came here to experience, because tell me one thing that will be true exactly as it is in 100 years from now. Very little. The flow state believes and trusts that it will see when it is time to be seen. I've said this since the beginning of my practice. If the why is important, then you'll be given that too. Why do you need to know? Can't you just trust that you're flowing through your experience and that things come to you for whatever reason? And this is when we get into life in the flow. Is not a fixed perspective. It cannot be. So when you're looking for an answer and you're looking for the absolute as to why this happens or when this will happen again or how can I avoid this or why did this happen or who is to blame or who is the reason, the flow state says, hey, sometimes I made an unconscious decision, and sometimes it was a conscious decision, and sometimes it happened on the superconscious level, which is a higher level of cognition that I may not always have access to in my conscious waking state, but that doesn't mean that that's not me at some level making the decision. The flow state says, sometimes I'm the teacher, and sometimes I'm the student. Sometimes I'm the catalyst, and sometimes I'm the reaction. Sometimes I am the pigeon, and sometimes I'm the statue. The flow state says, why do I need an absolute? I am all that is. Why do I need to limit myself to one possibility or one answer? Can't it be all of it? And then when it's all of it, I get the power to decide which one I want to choose. If I'm choosing to see through fear, my options are this many. But when I say, okay, fear is an option, and I can also choose love, and I can also choose joy, and I can also choose ease, and I can also choose peace, and I can also choose surrender, and I can also choose to just go with the flow, and I can also choose just not to care. I can choose not to engage. How many times do I need to put my hand on the burner before I remember that it burns me? So when you are in the flow state, you remember that the only thing that never changes is your ability to stay connected in here. That's the big T truth, is that my connection is always present. If I'm alive, I'm connected. If I'm on the path, if I'm alive, I'm on my path. It's just a question of which direction am I headed and what is the integrity of my connection. Am I allowing myself to hear the truth, to feel the truth, to know the truth? Or am I so twisted up and compacted and contracted that I can't even fucking hear it? Because I can't even take a breath. And I've got so much noise in my head that I don't even know what's real. So the flow state says, who am I in relationship to you? What am I relative to these circumstances? How am I connected to all of this, and what is my role? How can I serve? How can I be present? Where am I right now? I understand when I'm in the flow that I am a part of all of it, that I am a fabric in this tapestry, that I am woven into my experience, and I cannot abstract myself from it. And even if I go outside and get hit by a bus tomorrow, I'm still connected to the experience of all it is. I'm just doing it at a different level now. So the fixed state always requires everything to be defined and to be fixed, and I got to be opposite. I got to be, separate from it. The flow state is always present in this moment right now, because the flow state knows that that's all there ever is. That's all there ever is. And so I'm here. So what am I going to do about here right now? What is the choice that's in front of me at this moment? What are the opportunities that are presenting themselves to me? How do I feel right now? How do I feel about the things I'm thinking? How do I feel about the decisions that I have in front of me? How do I feel about the things that I believe to be true right now? The flow state knows that sometimes it is black and white. Sometimes it is when I put my hand on the hot burner, I get burned. So I'm not going to put my hand on the hot burner anymore. Done. Moving on. The fixed state says, I just put my hand on the hot burner and I got burned, so I am going to banish all burners in the kingdom so that I will never be burned again, right? The fixed state is always trying to control what's going on out here rather than just say, I'm just not gonna, sorry, I just got a text. I'm just not gonna put my hand on the burner anymore. Easy peasy. And this is the message, this sort of piggybacks or connects with the video that I posted a couple days ago about the message in the mess. Sometimes life is challenging. Sometimes life falls apart. Sometimes you get burned. But that doesn't mean that things are over. That doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean it's always going to be like this. It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. You disempower yourself when you believe that you have no choice. You always have a choice. And sometimes the only choice you have is how you feel. And if that's the only choice that you have, I promise you that's the only choice that you need. Because the only way to shift your circumstances is to change how you feel about them, so that you can change your beliefs about them, so that you can tell a new story, which gives you access to a new perspective. And when you change your perspective, the outside world must shift. It is law. It has to be. That's how it is. So it's not about you holding yourself hostage. It's not about you blaming yourself because things fell apart. You just say, okay, well, things are falling apart because they don't need to be like this anymore. The way that they were just doesn't serve me anymore, so that's why it's falling apart. Hello, how we're not seeing this playing out on the global political stage. The things that are falling apart right now are the things that are not built on love and inclusion and unity. The things that are falling apart because they have to. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as it was designed to. And if resistance for resistance sake worked, we would not be here. Unless resistance is a road to unity, and unity always starts in here. When I am unified within, then I see unity without. As above, so below. So within, so without. So resist if that's moving you towards unification with a greater truth, which is that we're all connected. We only need the bad guy as long as we believe that we are somehow separate. We only need the experience of the other as long as we believe that I am somehow abstracted from you over there. No. 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 So this is really a way for you to begin to ask the question, okay, so I'm kind of stuck right now. I'm feeling like I'm in a little bit of an eddy. I'm in a cul-de-sac. You know, what is that in Anchorman? I'm in a glass box of emotion. So then you just use that moment to say, okay, I'm fixed right now. I've sort of pinned myself to this moment, to this point through an erroneous belief or something that isn't true anymore. So I can let myself flow now. I can let myself go, let it go, let go. You're not in control anyway. So give up that fucking ghost right now. Do yourself a favor. And why do you need to control? You are the creator. You are God in a smaller package that is called Andrew or Betty or Susan or David or whatever it is. So why do you need to control the thing that you are? You can't, you are all of it. So let go. Flow with it. Flow into it. Flow towards it. And for the love of God, stop worshiping fear. I posted this morning on my Instagram and Facebook. Stop with the fear worship. You don't need fear. Fear needs you. And without you, fear is nothing. So turn off the TV. Stop posting all the things that enrage you and terrify you and scare you. Go to the place of truth and ask to be shown how you can affect change from a higher place. You're never going to create change from a place of fear. Ever. So stop. Take a breath. Take a beat. Connect to that inner, eternal, infinite place. Feel yourself slipping into the flow, and then ask, what can I do from here? And think about this. All this television stuff, all of this external media stuff, which by the way is all propaganda, it's all fake news. We're so concerned with what we put into our body, what we consume physically, and yet we are so willing to just consume all of this garbage, this fear machine. Imagine that if you had a tablespoon of sugar or a teaspoon of sugar for every hour of news that you watched. For every hour of that fear-based machine that you watched, you would be diabetic in a month. Stop selling your ease and your peace and your health and your wealth and your joy and your creativity and your mental space. Stop giving it away so cheaply. Come into that flow state so that you can feel how big and how powerful and how infinite and how eternal you really are. And then all of these things just start to pale in comparison, and it completely shifts, and you remember, oh, if I want to shift this, I just got to go in here and find a new perspective. The new perspective is never out here. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And I know that, again, many people are going through this experience right now where they're starting to wake up and they're starting to say, okay, something's different, something's not right. This isn't the way it was or is or should be or has to be or whatever. So we're starting to ask these questions, and that is a good thing. And chaos and destruction are two sides of the same coin. You cannot make an omelet if you're not willing to break an egg. And so sometimes you have to just trust that the things that are moving away from you, the things that feel like they're crumbling, let them go. Let them go, because I promise if you require it for your experience, you will always have it. So that's it, you guys. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. It's so crazy how dark it is outside. I see that I'm illuminated by my computer and that's it, so it's sort of eerie. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. Sign up for the Soul Expansion this Sunday from 12 to 2. There's five sessions this July. So even when you sign up, for this Sunday, if you buy the full series, then you'll get last Sunday's MP3 as well. Go to thelightedOnes.com/events, or I'll just put the link to the Soul Expansion in the description so you can check it out there. It's an amazing, wonderful family and community that has started to grow, and it's a great way to work with me more directly, because I'm not doing private sessions until further notice. So that's it. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.